הדוברת הבאה היא פרופסור פאלומה מנדוזה קורטז, חוקרת ביטחון לאומי ממקסיקו, שתציג תכף נתונים שאספה בנושא הרוגלות ההתקפיות במקסיקו והשימוש הפסול שעושה בהם הממשלה כנגד עיתונאים וחברי אופוזיציה.
Thank you very much, the Jerusalem Press Club, for the invitation. I feel honored to participate in such an important conference. For answer the question one, first of all, I would like to describe an overview of the use of surveillance technologies in Mexico. Since the war on drugs started by President Felipe Calderón in December 2006, just 1 week after taking office, Mexico has become one of the leading markets in the world for companies and consultancies that offer all kinds of security technologies and services. This type of companies increased their presence in Mexico since that time, taking advantage of the following aspects. First, there is no legal framework for national security in Mexico, so there are no borders between national security, internal security, and public security. There are also no limits on the responsibilities of the civilian and military authorities in security. Second, the exponential increase in the security budget in an environment vulnerable for corruption. Third, the activities of the Mexican intelligence services are in total opacity, which causes complete distrust of them, especially the Center for Research and National Security, CISEN, which changed its name to the National Intelligence Center, CNE. Fourth, the role of contractors and private companies that provides services, equipment, and technology. These companies have no legal obligations for accountability, despite working very closely with high-level government officials and have a real influence in the decision-making process for security. Unfortunately, the significant presence of security companies has not been regulated in Mexico. These companies, usually foreign, are registered as private security companies and create fake local companies for legal purposes. Many companies are founded or hire former senior security officials to ensure government contracts. For example, we have 2 cases. The former Secretary of Public Security, Genaro Garcia Luna, who is currently in prison in the United States, accused by the FBI of drug trafficking and money laundering, was the owner of a security consulting company, GLAC, GL and Associates Consulting, with offices in Miami and Mexico that offer intelligence services to private companies and local governments. There is a version that the Pegasus acquisition was made through an intermediary company called Security Tracking Systems and not directly with NSO Group. After the publication of the Pegasus scandal, was discovered that it was through the Italian company hacking team related to Tomás Herón, former head of the Criminal Investigation Agency of the Attorney General's Office, through the Tech Pool Group Company, a subsidiary of Balam Private Security Company, by direct award contract. Tomás Herón is currently run away from the Mexican justice. He is on file with Interpol for his role in the Ayotzinapa case, and according to the investigation, the cartel project, Herón is now in Israel, protected by a security businessman. So, if you are interested in the Pegasus case in Mexico, you could investigate where Tomás Herón is and who is hiding him from the Mexican justice. The messages with Pegasus were sent at times that severely affected the public opinion of the government of Enrique Peña Nieto. On the screen, we can see the main affected by Pegasus, particularly the harassment against the journalist Carmen Aristegui, and her minor son, a cause of the investigation into corruption of federal government contracts for building a mansion owned by the wife of the president, Peña Nieto. Carmen Aristegui was fired and sued by the media company where she worked. Also, the journalist Carlos Loret de Mola, who has been highly critical of the Mexican government for various controversial cases, and the human rights activist Mario Patron were victims. Carmen Aristegui, journalist, Carlos Loret de Mola, journalist, and Mario Patron, human rights activist. The definition of national security in Mexico depends on the government's enemies, since Mexico adopted that concept in the 70s. Since then, it has never existed in Mexico a national security legislation. Each federal government has used national security against political opponents, journalists, and social and human rights leaders accused of threats to national security. The Mexican security authorities often say that the interception of communications and surveillance helps to reduce organized crime. However, they have never explained through mechanisms of accountability or transparency in what way or in what specific cases the use of this type of technology is legal or legitimate and helps against organized crime. There has been speculation about using intelligence information obtained through malware similar to Pegasus for the third arrest of Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán. We know that NSO Group claims that the Mexican authorities use Pegasus. However, insider sources say that the DEA provided the vital information for the arrest. There are unofficial versions that the NSA shared this information. We know that the United States government has repeatedly denied the purchase and use of Pegasus. A few days ago, the Washington Post published about a concern in the White House that the private contractor L3 Harris intends to buy Pegasus from NSO Group. I believe that good journalists use methodologies very similar to the intelligence cycle, and thanks to that work, significant cases like the Panama Papers have been exposed. But also, in a certain way, these technologies are designed specifically for state governments' use, mainly considering market reasons and multi-million-dollar budgets for security. Consequently, although journalists can make more legitimate uses of software like Pegasus to expose not only cases of corruption, nepotism, and influence peddling, journalists are also vulnerable to being blamed by the state for illegal espionage activities. We must also recognize the existence of journalism aligned with authoritarian governments. These unethical journalists can use these programs to attack good journalists. Finally, the Pegasus scandal exposed 6 critical points. First is the need for accountability about government purchases in national security technology. Second, fake companies and intermediaries are used to sell surveillance technology and avoid national and international laws. Third, the government's lack of legitimacy to justify the invasion of the privacy of citizens, journalists, academics, and human rights activists, as well as the lack of protocols and monitoring to prevent human rights violations. Fourth, is the continuity of the manipulation of the use of the concept of national security against freedom of speech. Fifth, the use of malware like Pegasus is not isolated. It belongs to a deliberate strategy that includes the use of social engineering, coordinated campaigns on social networks, bots, influencers, and anti-ethical journalism to discredit, persecute, and in extreme cases, assassins against the journalism that does not praise the government decisions. In case you don't know, President López Obrador offered political asylum to Julian Assange. As you can see, Mexico is not a paradise for journalists. Finally, despite the public outrage, no significant investigation was done, and currently only one low-level official is in jail for using Pegasus. Thank you very much.